Hello and welcome to my channel, Kaylee Creations. I'm Kay and I'm going to have a tutorial today on how to make the Halloween folio that I designed for ReneaBouquets. So this folio is, if you watch the walkthrough, it's 8.5 by 10.5. I will put a link below to in the description box to the walkthrough so that you can see the project all put together. But this is a gatefold folio, and so we're going to get at least this far, maybe farther. I do have a few time constraints on how long I can make this video this evening, and so I'll go as far as I can. But it'll probably be broken up into 3 tutorials anyway. I have made a tutorial for the piece that I'm putting on the cover, and so that's going to be a separate tutorial, and you'll see that piece later on in this video, maybe if we get that far, and then but we'll at least get as far as to putting this part of the folio together. And also I'm having to work on my kitchen table today, so I don't have a lot of space, so my I will give you the measurements for this Halloween folio, but I'm actually going to be using blue paper. I think it's easier to see, and I'm actually going to do a smaller version so that it just fits in the setup that I have today. So so if you're looking at it and you're saying, hey, that's not that big, it's not. Go by the measurements I've written down and the measurements I tell you, and not what you see. So anyway, to get started, the first thing I did is I pieced 2 pieces of cardstock together, and you're going to need a good cardstock, something that is not going to crack when you fold it, and whichever cardstock you're familiar with, that is good for that. And I want to I'm thinking in total, I don't have all the pages actually fully designed. I haven't gotten that far yet, but just to get you through the construction of the folio and all the pieces I'm putting in so far, it's going to be about 10 pieces of cardstock, 12 by 12, and maybe a couple more if I have a couple tags and little booklets or other little things that I might embellish with. But for the most part, the construction of this, you're going to need about 10 pieces. And so I started out with a 12-inch piece, and so what I did is I scored at 3/4 inches all the way down here. Then I turned it like 90 degrees and scored at 3/4 again. So 3/4 on the left, and then turn it 90 degrees and 3/4. And that's when you flip it back over, you'll have an L-shaped score line, and that's going to be your left side in the bottom. And the second piece of paper is also 12 by 12, and I scored it at 3/4, and then flip it 90 degrees and cut off with my cutter. I cut off 2 inches on this side. So then I had a piece, when I put them together, then I have the 2 pieces, the 12 by 12 scored on the bottom here and on the left, and the 12 by 10 piece is scored on the bottom at 3/4 inches. And to put them together, and I got this little mini piece so I could show you how I put them together. I just took a 1/4 inch score tape down the 12-inch you know, it's 12 inches from top to bottom. I went along and put a 1/4 inch on the edge of that 12 by 12 piece, and then took the 12 by 10 piece and just went the edge of the 12 by 10 piece just right barely over where the tape is. So they both overlap a 1/4 of an inch. So that's how I put my, so you're gonna have a seam right here on the very back of the folio. So that's how I put that together. And so once I have my 2 pieces of paper together, then and I know you've seen that people do this, so they do, I did mine a little bit, maybe reverse, backwards, I don't know. I put tape all the way around. This is 3/8 inch tape, but whatever, you know, you could probably still use a 1/4 inch. I like using a little bit wider than a 1/4 inch here, so I use 3/8 all around, and also on the chipboard all around. So for the chipboard, I cut 2 pieces at 4 1/4 by 10.5 inches long. So it's 4 1/4 wide and 10.5 inches long, and you need to cut 2 of those. Then I cut 2 pieces at 1 inch by 10.5 inches long. So you need to cut 2 of those. So those 2 go right here in the middle. And so what I did is I took this chipboard here and I lined it up with those score lines that are on the left and on the bottom. So I lined this piece of chipboard up to those score lines and I put it down like that. Now I used Scor tape and I covered completely the back of the chipboard. That gives it so it doesn't bubble and everything, and it seems to work really good. And I like using the tape rather than glue when I'm putting my albums together, but if you like to use glue, that's fine. And then I put this 1/4 inch here as a guide, this 1/4 inch Scor tape as a guide. I like to have a 1/4 inch seams, or this part here in when I fold my albums and folios. Then I put the 1 inch down, another 1/4 inch strip, and I keep it lined up with that score line on the bottom. And then this piece here is 8.5 by 10.5. And so once I put them all down like that, then I just always put a 1/4 inch tape in between. So I'll put this last piece on. I just wanted to show you that I was covering the whole entire thing with Scor tape. And I do have sheets, so I used a sheet on this one, but and then some of the other pieces until it was filled up, and then on the rest of them I used this 1.5 inch tape. But I mean, if you don't have that, and you just have like a 1/2 inch or 3/8 inch, you could still do this. It's just gonna take you a while getting all that tape on there. I think it really helps to have the tape all the way on the back of the chipboard so it doesn't bubble or move around once you get your album put together. So, okay, I'm gonna line this up, and I cannot see. I got that piece of tape. And the lighting's not the best in here, so I'm having a little bit of patience here. Get this on straight. Okay. And then then I go on the back here and give all that tape a bit of a burnish on the back. You don't want to rub too hard because this is, you know, the edges will be showing on mine unless you decide to cover the entire thing with design paper. But okay. But for this project, we're not doing that. We're leaving about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Okay. So now, okay, and I know a lot of people do this different. Some people just cut their corners here. I got this little device, and I like using it because for some reason I cannot cut corners straight, and I don't want to have a hole there on the corner of my folio after I've done all this work to get it together. So I use this tool, but if you don't have this tool, I'll show you another little trick you can do. And I got this when I was at a retreat, and there was a gal there that has a store in Michigan, I think it is, and she was selling these, and so I bought one. And so I can't remember. I'm sure you could probably get one online or something. And I was going to show you what I do when before I didn't have my little handy little tool there, is I measured from the corner. I guess I should do it this way. From the corner, I measured 1/8 of an inch. And just so from here to here is 1/8 of an inch, and I just mark my line. I take my ruler and mark my line that way, and then cut it across. And then I even measured this. So my little tool, it's 1/8 of an inch. So that's a pretty good measurement from the distance from that corner of the chipboard to where you want to cut your diagonal line, or where you want to cut it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these off. Okay, so yeah, I apologize if this video is long. I tend to be a slow and clumsy crafter. That's why I kind of like to have a lot of stuff prepared in advance, because it just takes me a while. I always tend to mess up or do something wrong, so it just takes me a while. Okay, so now we need to fold these edges over. And I like to add a little bit of glue along the chipboard edges, just so that the paper is, or the cardstock is stuck there on the edges. So I'm going to go ahead and put a line of glue. And then I'm going to take all this, I guess I should have did this first, huh? Take all the backing off the tape before I put the glue down, but that's okay. And I think I better take these off too. And I know there's little picks and tools that people use to get their, I do have longer nails, so this is going to work. And I always start with the long side. I don't know if that's better or worse. I'm just throwing these little strips away so they're out of the way. Okay. And I like to just ease into that fold. And so I just kind of bend it. I'm pressing down on the table and just kind of gently working it in. Because I don't, even though I'm using a linen type cardstock, you know, it could still crack. And then I take my bone folder and I run along the edge of the chipboard, because where that glue is, then I can just press that glue in. And then I'm just burnishing that down. So okay, so I'm just going to work that in. Okay, so then we've got that folded over. Okay, gonna burnish that down. And then before I do the sides here, I am going to take my bone folder and work that paper in and just kind of wrap it around. Hang on, there we go. I'm going to wrap it around this chipboard here so that we don't have it poking out when we fold the edge, this other sides. So while I'm doing this, I can tell you that I'm using the Authentique Twilight, and I got the collection pack, and it comes with you know, I can't remember if it comes with both sticker sheets or just one, but I do have both. I did get both sticker sheets, so check that when you order it. If it only comes with the one sticker sheet, you need to get the other sticker sheet, because I just used a little bit of both. And on the collection pack, it has 2 of each design of 8 papers. And I used at least 1 of every paper, and then there's 2 papers that I used 2 of, and I did use 1 piece of the 8x8 pad, just 1. So if you don't want to get the 8x8 pad, you could certainly use the 1 piece of the in the 12x12 collection, but then I want to put the glue there. But you And so then you'd be using 2 of that particular paper. So I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along here. And you'll see what I mean why I used the 8x8 pad. I don't think it's super, I mean, if you just can't get the 8x8 pad, I think you'll be okay using the 12x12, but I just liked that it had that smaller pattern on it for what I was using it for, so. I'm just going to burnish those corners down a bit. Yeah, I was wanting to design something that it would just take one collection pack, because the last couple of projects I did, you know, I used a lot of different, I used a lot of the same papers, and so we're talking like a lot of single papers. You know, you had to buy the paper singly or buy a collection pack or 2, and they were pretty big projects, some of them, but I was hoping that this time I could just use one collection pack with the stickers, but then I decided to use that. I'd gotten the 8x8 pad and I decided to use that, so. Okay. All right. So that's what we have so far. So we're almost to the point that I showed you of the folio that I had. Now I think I'm gonna just go ahead and work this in a little bit before I put the inner paper on. We want to cover up the edges of this here and cover up this the spine here. These because it's a gatefold, these 2 pieces are the spine. And I think I just want to work this in. And so what I'm doing is I'm just taking my bone folder. There's tape down in here. So I'm just taking my bone folder and kind of rubbing down in here, pressing this bottom paper down in here, and then I'm going to just kind of work it. And then I'll do it again once I get the paper on, the inner paper on. But I just wanted to do a little bit now and kind of get this paper, the outer cover, moving a little bit. Okay. And you don't, and it looks like I might be pressing really hard, but I'm trying to be really careful. And I have this Teflon bone folder, so it doesn't rip the paper. So I wouldn't just do this with any bone folder. I think these, I got these on Amazon. I have a couple different ones. One of them got ruined somehow. I don't really know how it got dented right here on the end, and so it was starting to make marks on my paper. So I had to get rid of it, but I like to have 2 because I like to have a to-go bag with certain tools, and this is a tool I use all the time when I'm crafting. So okay, I hope basically we are going to go by just a little quicker. Okay, so that's just giving it a little more. And so now here I have no, I think I cut these. I think I cut these too tall. So for this project, let me hang on just a minute and let me measure this. This is 8.5 and I want it to be yeah, these are measuring 8.5. I guess I don't know how to read my measurements. Okay, I trim the edges just a little bit. So these, I don't have the measurements written on the paper, obviously, because this is going to be seen. But this is 3 inches by 10 and 1/4. So a 1/4 inch less than the top to bottom of the folio. So you want 1/8 of an inch on the top and the bottom exposed. So, and again, this is a smaller size folio that I'm working with, just for demonstration, but I'm giving you the correct measurements to make the 8.5 by 10.5 folio that I showed you in the beginning. So, so 3 inches by 10 and 1/4. And this particular one I'm doing now, I don't want so much. I don't want the eighth of an inch top and bottom. I'm only doing a 1/16 of an inch. So this one, that's why mine looks a little different. But on yours, if I can show you this one. See, I've got like an 1/8. I don't know if you can see with the black, but I have an 1/8 of an inch showing. And so I did 3 inches by, and it doesn't have to be perfectly centered. You can see I got this one a little off. You know, only 1/4 of an inch on each side of the chipboard is going to show. And I'm going to turn it this way so I can see better. I don't even know if you need 3 inches. You could probably get away with a little bit less. But you just want to make sure that you're going to have 1/4 of an inch. A little more, it actually has to be a little more than 1/4 of an inch so that you know, when you put your design paper down, you've got a 1/4 inch showing. So, okay, so then once I've got that in, I'm going to do the same thing that I was doing before, and I'm going to go ahead and work this paper into those folds. Burnish it down this way too. Forgot to do that. So I'm just getting ready to do a little bit of remodeling or construction around the house, and we've been in this house a while, so we're just doing a few things, and so my craft room is halfway, it's getting there, it's getting packed. So I might have to take a short hiatus from doing stuff for till I get things. Some of my things will be packed away. Okay. Anyways, that, so you get the basic idea. I'm not going to sit here and do all of that, but once you get it, you just want to get it so that it's, you know, just keep pressing it. I'm not pressing super hard. I don't want to rip this paper. I'm just working, gently working those folds in until they really want to fold easily, so that when you're opening the book up, it just folds easily. So I'm going to set that aside, and now we're going to go back to this one here. So you can see that it just easily folds open now. And